Hi, ladies. Nice to see you all. This is Meghan Sterling from Making Moms Strong. And today we have a super special interview for you. My friend Stephanie Mull, who is a nutritionist, dietitian, kind of both maybe, is here to do a little interview with us to help us think about top tips for nutrition for moms as they experience all the changes of becoming a mom, right? So, Steph, I'm actually going to read from my notes as I do this great introduction of you because I will totally mess that up, okay? Stephanie Mull has an undergraduate from James Madison University. She did a dietetic internship through East Carolina University. She has worked at Georgetown University Hospital. She has worked in various settings. She has 15 years of experience working in exercise, fitness, and health promotion, right? Where you got your master's from George Mason.
Yep.
11 years teaching experience at the college level, which is really awesome. And you're currently adjunct faculty at American University School of Education, Teaching, and Health. I know you've been really busy working on a course, so a special thank you for taking time to talk to us today. This is also really interesting to me, which I didn't know until you sent me this email. It was fun to read. She is also a contracted George Washington University Weight Management and Human Performance Lab and Prosperity Eating Disorders and Wellness, right? And you have two interesting bits of research that you're gathering pilot data on. And I'm just going to share those with our audience because I think they're cool. So the first is how to build muscle and lose fat while in caloric deficit, which is, you say most research doesn't support this. And the general knowledge is that you need caloric surplus to build muscle, but you're seeing a lot of different stuff in your lab. So you're going to be publishing some really cool research in the future, I think, that's going to show different stuff. And then your second interest in the research world is metabolic shifts through eating disorder treatment and recovery, which is huge. And so how does the metabolic rate change with extreme weight shifts, which is very, very interesting. And, you know, this is a little mini tangent. As a physical therapist, when I was in PT school, I was shocked by how many of my colleagues who were like, you know, fit, healthy, kind of like regular people like us, had histories of struggling with eating disorders.
Really?
Really surprisingly high number. And so for me as a PT, I think that's maybe interesting as we carry on trying to help people move, right? So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's Friday here, so happy Friday too. I know people will be watching this at various times, but
that's true.
I love
Fridays.
Fridays.
I was like, what day would it be somewhere else?
I know, right? When they're watching this, it might not be Friday, right? Our recording. The other thing I forgot to mention is that you are happily married for 9 years and you have two boys, right? 5 and 7. And that is happy chaos, I always say, having two boys myself, right?
Organized chaos,
Sometimes more organized than others, right?
Yeah. Not so organized, total chaos.
I know, right? So thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
And I would love to hear, as a mom, as somebody who's into fitness and nutrition and health, how do you blend nutrition and mothering and your body and your kids' bodies? Do you have anything interesting to share with us?
It took me quite a few years to figure out how to blend it because before I had kids, I was, Miss Dietitian. I'm going to save the world. I was love my job and I still love my job. But once you have kids, as you know, your whole life changes. Priorities change. And so after my first child, Owen, I did not make myself a priority. He became everything. So no matter what we did, I would pack his bottles, his diaper bag, his, the washcloths and the, extra clothes. And, you had like the whole mini closet in your diaper bag and food for the whole day, just in case, we got stuck out. And I would bring nothing for myself. And so my nutrition and my priorities got put aside because I was taking care of him. And I felt like that's what I needed to do. I felt like that was the role I needed to play. And it took me years to really figure out, how do I prioritize myself and still keep my kids a priority too? Because if I'm not healthy, if I'm not taking care of myself, my kids are going to see that. They pay attention to everything. And I'm not going to feel good, and I'm not going to feel good about myself or my body or my food choices. And so it took some time to figure out how to blend the two. So now, I'm very open about my nutrition, and I make sure that my kids are aware about balance. I get them involved in things. I get them involved in the kitchen. They hear me talk about protein and carbs and fat a little too much. I mean, even my 5-year-old, I was packing his lunch this morning. I said, okay, Nathan, these are your two choices. I always give my kids choices, but not too many choices. So, these are your two choices.
I'm not a short order cook.
Right. Pick one. All right, I'll take that. And so then I'll say, okay, well, now you need protein. So what do you want? He's like, well, I don't want any of those. I was like, well, you need protein. So you need to pick one. And so he made a choice. Now, whether he eats it, I don't know. But, I'm always talking about with them. And so they have that working knowledge, but they also know that they can go into their Halloween candy bags and get some candy. Right. So just talking about that balance and letting them see me making myself a priority by going to the gym and choosing healthy foods and, stopping when I'm full, those types of things, they're picking up that message, and then I feel better about myself.
Right. Everybody wins. Right?
Yeah.
We had a funny conversation just last night of you can have one piece of your Halloween candy after you eat your dinner. And Will said, but Mom, why do we have to have so much more nutritional food than sugar? So that we had that conversation.
Yeah.
And then, well, why don't they just make sugar-free candy? There's it was like this very long conversation, but you can see at 6, he was starting to really understand it's okay to have a little mini Twix. Like, I want you to enjoy that. Yeah. And you still have to eat your growing food.
Yeah.
Right? Like, have some good food. So now after Nathan is number 2,
he's
right?
5. Yeah.
He's 5.
He's 5 years old. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been able to find that balance that you need in your health and your diet? And
yes.
And now you've made yourself the priority, right?
Yeah. It was when Nathan was 2.5. So it was the summer of 2013. My body was still not back. It changes. Things change after you have kids.
Totally.
And the first one, you kind of bounce back a little bit better, but then the second kid just did my body in, and my hips are wider, my rib cage is wider. Yes. Those are things I can't change.
Right.
But I was carrying extra weight on me that I was really struggling to lose. And even as a dietitian, I was so frustrated because I knew what to do, but it wasn't working.
Right.
But I wasn't totally dialed in with everything I was doing.
Right.
I wasn't really aware of everything I was doing, and I wasn't making exercise a priority.
Yeah.
So I started to write it on my calendar. I would write down what day I was doing what. So it was a commitment. Scheduled.
Yeah. Or else it's not going to happen.
No. And you know what? I was tired. My kids weren't sleeping. They weren't, neither one of my kids were great sleepers.
Yeah. We still don't have great sleep.
No. And it happens.
It's life.
But it is life. And I need my sleep. I need my sleep. Mama needs sleep. And so it was hard. It was very hard for me, but I did it. And once I got into the swing of things, it was so much easier, but it takes time. And I think that is one of the common misconceptions, which I'm sure you hear all the time, is, well, I want my body back now because I see this celebrity looks like this after 6 weeks. Right. And that's just not normal.
Right. It's not normal.
And it's not realistic, and it's not healthy.
Right.
And so just being invested in the process of just adopting a different lifestyle. You can't go back to what you were. Right. Things have changed.
Right. You're different.
You're different. Your life is different. You got to juggle a lot more things. And so once I realized how to schedule the exercise in and be much more mindful of my food choices, I'm not on vacation. That was my mentality. I was staying home because I was working full time, and I got to stay home with my kids. So I was working from home, but I was home. I was like, okay, I can have chips with my sandwich, and I'm going to have my turkey and cheese sandwich, and then I'm going to have cookies for dessert. I mean, it was just carb overload. And it wasn't balanced, and I wasn't really dialed in with it. So once I did that reality check, and it was tough, but I did it and started to schedule things, my body started to change.
Yeah.
And now here we are 2 years later, and following my own advice, which we'll get to that with the nutrition piece, but following my own advice and working out a certain way, I'm now leaner than I ever have been in my entire life.
That's awesome.
I'm actually smaller than I was when I first had kids. And I never ever thought, because how many people tell you you're never going to get your body back?
Oh, yeah.
Your mom.
Right.
Just accept.
Even doctors will say to my clients, oh, that's just normal after having kids. The muffin top, oh, yeah, that just happened.
You just have to accept it.
Yep.
Get high-waisted jeans.
One of the things that I found, being a decade older and having 2 kids is I need both the food piece, the diet piece, and the exercise piece. You can't just have one. I used to say, I work out so I can eat whatever I want. And that was great 10 years ago before, my ribs are still wider too. It makes me a little bonkers. They never shrunk back.
No, they never went back.
But you do need both pieces to get it all optimized. I say, we at Making Moms Strong, we're always talking about muscle activation and proper muscle activation, proper use of your body and function and health. And that's awesome. And the truth is, if I still ate whatever I wanted, doesn't matter. I'm going to carry those pounds. So to have both, if you actually want lean and you want proper function, I think you need to get both pieces dialed in together.
Absolutely.
Right? And it is a work in progress for all of us.
And so, when you're trying to change your lifestyle, especially after becoming a mom, and you want to shed that weight, not feel frumpy and thick and full, we all remember that feeling. You expect it to happen overnight. So many people, moms or not moms, when they're trying to lose weight, they say, okay, well, I've been following this diet for 2 weeks. Why hasn't my weight changed? Because it's not an overnight process. It takes time. And we're building the foundation for a different lifestyle. So we're doing things that you're going to do for the rest of your life because it's going to be realistic and appropriate.
Right. And,
but you just
you'll feel good too.
You'll feel good.
You'll start to get that feedback, right?
You just got to trust the process and give it time.
So Steph, what I want from you today is some of your, I don't know how many you have, some of your top tips for moms in the world of nutrition. What can they do? What are the most important things to do nutritionally to support themselves and their bodies, whether they're nursing or not nursing, along those lines?
Okay, so nutrition comes from 2 different aspects. We have behavior related to food choices and eating patterns, and then we have specific food choices. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the specific food choices first, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about behavior things that I've got.
Perfect.
So the first thing that I would suggest is being mindful of fat sources, because I hear too many times from people that they snack on nuts, they eat peanut butter, they use olive oil in their cooking, they add salad dressing because these fats are good for me. And they are good for you. They're extremely healthy fats, heart healthy fats, reduce inflammation, lots of great things in them. Fat is fat. More is not better. More is not better. So that handful of almonds, you could be putting 300 calories in your body right there. And then you go to have another handful of almonds later because, you're home, you're tired, you want something to munch on. And so all of a sudden the fat calories start adding up. And then fat is found in other foods. So if you do chips and salsa, I challenge you to find a chip that does not have fat in it. Right. Even a baked tortilla chip that looks awesome. It's made from flaxseed oil and it's organic, milled from the cleanest flour ever. It doesn't matter. Fat is still fat, and it's going to be found in those chips. Right. Flax is another one of those buzzwords that we hear a lot about. Chia seeds, that's another one. Right. I talk to people who say, well, I have a smoothie in the morning, and the smoothie might have yogurt and fruit. Great. But then they say, well, then I'll add peanut butter and maybe some flax seeds and some chia seeds. And all of a sudden the fat calories start adding up. So just being mindful of your fat sources and remembering that more is not better. A little bit goes a long way because it's very energy dense.
Right. And this is a real trendy thing right now.
Oh, it's
with
so
like all the
trendy.
paleo and all the like no carbs, high fat diet is a very in way to eat.
It is. And, I know there's a lot of people that believe in it, that they feel better on it. And I do believe that maybe there are some people that are primary fat burners. So maybe they do feel better on it. But from a general sense, the majority of the people that I work with, when I do body composition testing on them and they're eating a pretty healthy diet, high quality, not even that high calorie, but they have a lot of these healthy fats in their diet, they're still carrying around a lot of excess body fat. They're walking around at 40% body fat, which is too high. Because if you're giving your body that energy, ingested energy from fat, your body's going to be using that for an energy source versus tapping into its own fat stores to burn off. So you don't have to go super low fat and go to one extreme, but you don't need to be going high fat either. You got to find a balance that works for you.
Important. Right.
And everybody's
so
an individual.
Fat. Right.
That
and
is
it
fat.
adds up.
It adds up.
That's good, because I like the idea of eating all that fat.
Yeah,
it sounds nice, but it's a good reminder that it all adds up. There's no like free calories. Like you don't get free fat calories. Right? It's all gonna go. It's gonna go somewhere.
It's gonna
do something with it. Either you're gonna use it or not.
Or not. Yeah. You'll store it.
You'll carry it around on your belly. Awesome.
That's right.
I love that tip.
So that's one. Fat is fat. Be mindful of it, even if it's healthy.
Good.
Okay. The second thing is, I think a lot of women in particular underestimate how much protein they need. So being more conscious of ingesting protein consistently through the day is going to help rev the metabolism so you actually burn off more calories. And it's going to support the generation of muscle mass. So when they're trying to get their body back, when you're starting to exercise more, you're breaking that muscle tissue down. Well, the protein is necessary to rebuild it and for it to get stronger. You're not going to bulk up as a result, but that protein is critical. And so again, because of the fat comment that I made, you need to be mindful of lean protein. So, the things that I like to suggest are any kind of poultry, eggs. Egg whites are going to be less fattier than whole eggs. So whole eggs are great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want you having a 6-egg omelet because then all that yolk has the fat in it. It's going to add up. Again, balance. Let's see. So poultry, eggs, egg whites, lean cuts of meat, fish. So for nursing moms, I want you to be mindful of your fish sources because you don't want to be getting too much mercury or toxins, especially with fish these days. There's a lot of quality control issues. So be mindful of where your fish is coming from. Where are you buying it? Where do they get it? So just being aware of that and trying to choose the ones that are lower in mercury.
Super important.
Very important for nursing moms. But fish is great. And then you can get a lot of protein through whole grains too. So we'll talk about carbs in a second.
Okay, good. I like that. So number 2.
Quinoa.
Quinoa's great.
Protein. Beans.
Get your protein.
They have great protein in there.
It's a good reminder that protein doesn't have to equal a lot of fat.
No.
Because I think that's an association that's really commonly made, right? Like I'm going to have some steak or some almonds or all of those things because they have the protein in them. But you need to separate that distinction.
Separate for the protein with the fat, yes. Right. And actually, I'm glad you brought up the nuts, the almonds, and the peanut butter. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was telling me that they're vegetarian, and so they eat almonds and peanut butter to get the protein. I said, you cannot consider almonds and peanut butter a protein source. That is another common misconception. There is protein in there, but there's not a lot. You'd have to eat 6 tablespoons of peanut butter, which is going to give you 14, 28, about 40 some odd grams of fat to get the same protein amount that you would from 3 ounces of chicken or turkey or beef or something.
That is really good. That's good to know because I think of that as protein as well. I think of the peanut butter as like, and even for my kids, they're getting protein in their PB&J. I know
a little bit different.
Yeah.
They don't need quite as much protein. So that would be all right for them because it's not like kids are going to eat meat all the time or eggs. So I think for a child, that would be an okay connection to make. Yeah,
but
that
not
peanut
for the
butter would
moms.
give them some protein. Especially if you couple it with like a whole grain bread. They are going to get the protein that they need, and that's good.
Right.
For an adult, you know, a mom who's trying to shed some fat maybe, or just be overall healthier.
Right.
They need to be more mindful of that.
Okay.
Not consider the nuts and the nuts and the peanut butter a protein source.
Okay. That's a really good tip. I like that one. So number 2, get your protein.
Protein.
Right?
Protein, consistently through the day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. About the same amount. So breakfast, what's a typical breakfast for people? Oatmeal, waffles, pancakes, toast. Yeah. What else haven't I mentioned? I don't know. English muffins. What are all those things?
Right. They're just carbs. Right.
Carbs. So there's nothing wrong with that. I want you to get carbohydrate in your diet consistently through the day too. But breakfast is often a challenge for people. Right. So look at things like eggs, hard-boiled eggs, some deli meat. There's nothing wrong with eating some chicken in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, chicken sausage. You can easily microwave a link. They're fairly lean.
Right.
Those would be some protein sources I would consider getting in the morning.
That's a great tip. It's a good way to start your day.
And protein is important for breastfeeding moms because it's going to help with the milk production. So that's something that they need to be extra conscious of too. Especially
if you're breastfeeding. Get your protein. That's great.
Yes.
So what's number 3?
Number 3, carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. They are not the enemy. Cutting them out is not going to solve your problem.
Darn, I thought it was going to be that easy, right? Yeah. It's not that easy.
No. The internet and people, they talk so often about how if they want to lose weight or be healthier, that they want to lose carbs or get rid of carbs from their diet because it's going to help with weight loss. It's going to help them feel better. And you need carbohydrate because it produces glucose in the body. Glucose is what runs all of metabolism. It's what feeds your brain. It feeds all your major organs. It feeds your muscles when they're working. So if you don't have enough glucose coming from ingested food sources, your body's going to take whatever it can find, whether that's ingested protein, whether that it starts to break down its own muscle and convert it to glucose, so it has that glucose available to run metabolism. So just like I told you with protein, you want to get it consistently through the day. You want to do the same thing with carbohydrate, and you want to choose your whole grain fiber containing carbs, whatever makes you feel good. So when I say carbs, people automatically think bread, pasta, potatoes, these super densey carbs. That's not necessarily what I mean. Carbohydrates come from dairy, fruit, and grains and starches. So if bread doesn't make you feel good, if it makes you feel bloated, don't eat bread. You don't need to eat bread to stay alive. Find another source of carbohydrate that you like.
Do you have any favorite sources?
Well, I love oats, quinoa. I'm fine with potatoes, any kind of potato, white, red, sweet, doesn't matter. Beans and lentils are great.
Yeah.
Fruit. Again, dairy.
They all count.
They all count as carbohydrates. So when you're trying to balance your plate out for your meals, what I like to typically suggest to people is go by thirds. So think of your plate in thirds. 1/3 you want to be protein, lean protein. 1/3 you want to be a carbohydrate source.
Okay. Grain,
starch, fruit, or dairy. And then 1/3 is like your nutrient booster. So vegetables, maybe fruit, if you're not counting it as your carbohydrate. What's like your nutrient booster there, where you're going to get your vitamins and your minerals from?
Your broccoli and your kale and all of those, all those extra healthy, nutrient-dense things.
Right.
Okay, so we don't have to be afraid of carbs.
You don't have to be
We
afraid
can still grow children and eat carbs and not be fat.
And still lose fat.
Right.
You actually need the carbohydrate to lose the fat. And that's the other thing with moms, new moms especially, they're tired. They're tired. And what are you doing? You're pumping yourself maybe full of caffeine, whether you're nursing or not, I don't know. Right. Or, maybe you'll turn to your sugary type carbs looking for that immediate energy boost. And so you don't want to do that. You want to try to get the protein with the whole grain, fiber containing carbs as often as you can through the day, because the carbs are going to feed your brain. They're going to help keep you more alert. And then the protein's going to help keep you full.
Right.
You need both.
It's making the right choices.
Yes.
Sounds like that is the key. Like all carbs are not created equal.
No,
right?
They're not.
They're like not. This. This is good. I'm going to start thinking about my plate in a whole new way, I think.
At your plate.
Thank you, Steph.
Yeah.
And do you have, go for it.
Trying to see, what was going to be your question?
What's next?
Oh, okay. I was going to talk about calories during breastfeeding.
Oh, good.
So if a mom is nursing, the old adage is that you need an extra 500 calories when you're nursing to support the breast milk production. And quite honestly, I don't really know where that came from. I don't know where it originated from. I was looking, I did a Google search, nutrition during breastfeeding, because I like to do that to see what comes up.
See what's out there, right? Because that's what moms are finding.
Moms are finding. So every website, the first page of the Google results, every link was telling me the same thing. You need 400 to 500 extra calories. You need 400 to 500 extra calories. I don't necessarily think that's true because, number one, that gives a mom permission to eat whatever she wants.
Calories.
I'm nursing. Right. So I get to have that extra piece of cake, or I'm going to have that extra piece of meat, or whatever it is. So I think that it's a psychological thing, that it really just gives them that permission that they don't necessarily need.
Right.
And then the other thing is that I actually met with a mom at the George Washington lab last month. She has an 8-week-old daughter, and this was her 5th child. And so she says that every time she nurses, she always gains weight. Her appetite just goes through the roof, but she ends up gaining weight, not losing weight while nursing, right? Because that's what they tell you. If you nurse, you're going to lose weight.
But it doesn't always happen.
Yeah,
no, that did not happen to me, for sure. I'd have nursed those kids forever if that was
right.
the case.
So I tested her metabolism, her resting metabolic rate, which is the baseline number of calories that you need to support basic metabolism. So if you were to get up out of bed, sit in a chair all day and do nothing, this is the number of calories you would require just to support your body's processes. And so she's breastfeeding. So that would have been accounted for on that metabolic rate test. Her metabolism was running about 25% slower, which means she needed fewer calories to support her metabolism and milk production.
And so that's tricky. That's really...
It's tricky. And so I'm not going to tell everybody, okay, well, go get a metabolism test. That you don't necessarily have to do that. If you really want to know the number, go do that.
Right.
Okay? But I don't want people going crazy with their calories and, being number driven.
Right.
However, the way that you can dial into things is try to figure out what your body's telling you. Are you hungry? If you are hungry, then my suggestion would be go for protein first. Let it fill you up. Let it rev your metabolism a little bit. And drink more water, more fluids. That's oftentimes the key element for supporting milk production. Right. There are those key foods that you hear about that say, oh, well, certain things like apricots can help with, breast milk production. And,
or a beer.
Herbs and those types of things. They may work, they may not. I don't know. I don't know what the research really shows out there. I think the research is very limited. So I think it's just a matter of paying attention to your body, what your body signals are telling you. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. If you're hungry an hour after eating, try to really think about, am I hungry or am I just bored? Am I tired? Am I looking for a distraction because I'm trying to put something off? Am I thirsty? Try to really see if you're hungry. Figure out what that body's telling you.
Even my kids will do that. Will will say, Mom, I'm hungry. And then lately he'll stop and he'll say, actually, I think I'm just thirsty. I need some water. But it's interesting how that, the thirst triggers something in him that he reads initially as hunger, but is able to then process it and say, oh, actually, I think I'm just thirsty. And so now when I think I'm hungry, I think, am I hungry or am I thirsty?
Thirsty, right.
Have I had any water lately? Have I had a big glass of water?
Right.
It's huge for everything.
It is.
Kind of I prescribe water to my patients, and sometimes they give me a hard time. You know, one of my clients this week said, I went home and told my husband, she told me to drink water. And I was like, well, that's what you need.
It's what you need.
So that's a good reminder. And everybody's different, I would imagine. If you're having a really hard time while you're breastfeeding, you can get things like a nutritional consultation.
You can.
Right? And have somebody look at you specifically.
Yeah,
that's what we always say to our clients too. If you're not getting something from information here, go have somebody look at you in person, you know, or talk to you in person and find out specifically what is happening.
Absolutely.
So at the beginning of our interview, you mentioned also some behavior pieces to nutrition, right?
There are behavior choices. And so everybody has different reasons for why we eat, right? So you got to think about that. Sometimes we eat because it's a function, we're hungry. Sometimes we eat because it's social. You know, you go to a party and there's food there and, oh, there's food, I need to eat it. Or maybe we eat because of our emotions. Maybe we eat when we're mindlessly doing something else, such as prepping dinner or helping kids with homework or nursing a baby, and we're, you know, looking for just something to do. Or maybe we just love food. You know, you just really, really love the taste of food. So you like to eat, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my suggestion for people is to figure out why they eat, you know, and it's going to vary. Right. And it's not going to be the same all the time, every day, in any given situation. But if you can start to figure out what drives you to eat, you can start to figure out what challenges you and what triggers you in relation to food choices and portions. Right. And then from there, you can start to work on how to manage them. I'm big on identifying triggers, and most people are aware of their bigger ones. You know, if it's candy in the office or it's the afternoon and they're just tired. They're just tired and they've been with the kids all day, and then husband's coming home, and then they have to cook dinner and they don't know what to cook and they're trying to figure it out. And, you know, I mean, there's that trigger. There's the after dinner trigger. Right. Where huge. It's like, well, I just feel like I need something sweet. Right. Yeah. Or I just want to snack on something.
Yeah. I like the late night snack trigger. That's a tough one for me.
It's a tough one. It's the toughest people. But that's where you, again, dial in and say, am I really hungry? What am I looking for? What am I looking for? And this is what I always tell people. Food is your fuel. It is not meant to fill an emotional void. It is not meant to be used as distraction. Food is your fuel. It nourishes your body. Right.
Emotional eating isn't good. I love, you know, one thing I've started to do is because I love to have a snack before bed. And if I feel that urge, I'm like, I'm going to go take a bath instead. Because that is also soothing to my nervous system. The same way that like a couple chips would be soothing. You know, we like to joke, coat the nerves with fat, you know, to calm everything down. But finding something for me that was also a way to distract me and kind of give me a little transition at night and soothe my nervous system. The bath is free of calories.
So it works for you.
It works.
So I do, when I get that itch, I turn to teas. So I've started getting into a lot of different teas, and they have different flavors. They have minty ones and sweet flavored ones and vanilla ones and herby ones. And, you know, at that time, I'm going to tell you do caffeine free because we don't want it to keep you up. But there's definitely lots of tricks, things that you can do. And so that's what I call a coping skill, the bath, the tea. You know, what calms you down? What has the same effect on you that food does? What can be a coping skill? So is it connecting with another human? You know, do you need to text somebody? Do you need to call somebody? Do you need to get on your computer, send emails, whatever it is? Do you need that connection? Do you just need some downtime? You know, do you need the physical feeling like you in the bath, the physical
like you're breathing and you're relaxing. You're not caring for somebody else.
So what is it? And I think, you know, moms, we are awesome at mom guilt.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so well, I need to be doing this. I should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the need and the should.
They're kind of dangerous.
Get rid of those words. Yeah. And so just saying, you know what, if I need 5 minutes, I need 5 minutes. And hopefully, there's another adult in the house, and husband, spouse, partner, friend, whoever it may be. And you can say, I need 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just decompress for a little bit.
Good. Instead of eating.
Mm-hmm.
That is good. Thinking about your behavior, right?
Thinking about the behavior
triggers and modifying them. And that's maybe sometimes the hardest, I would imagine.
It is the hardest because they're habits.
Right.
They're hard to break. And sometimes we just want that food. Right. And you know what? If you just want that food, go eat that food. But here's the thing. I've got 2 more things for you.
Okay,
one is, if you do something like that, don't say, well, what the hell? I'm just going to keep doing this because I've already blown it and I've done that. Don't give in to that.
Okay.
You can absolutely stop eating and turn things around. So, if by mid-morning you've had 2 lattes from Starbucks and a pastry because you didn't pack anything with you, and you had no choice because you were hungry and you needed the caffeine, don't tell yourself, well, what the hell? I've already done this, so I'm not going to worry about my diet the rest of the day. I'm just going to do whatever. Don't give in to that.
Okay. Just turn it around. Turn it around.
Always turn it away. So don't give in to the what the hell. And then don't feel guilty about whatever you might do. So just accept it. It's done. You've already put it into your body. Let it go. Move on.
Right.
Start fresh. Hit the reset button.
Okay. I love that.
Too many of us carry around those guilt feelings. And so, I find myself, many of my clients, it's done. Let it go. Move on. Reset.
And just don't beat yourself up over it, right?
Just beat yourself up.
That is awesome.
Learn from it.
Good. Thanks, Steph. Those are great tips. Those are all super helpful. Thanks for giving us something to think about today. Do you have one really quick, as a sort of way to wrap it up, is there one thing that we can do right now just to start to make that shift in our day? For our nutrition that's better for us?
Being mindful of what you're doing is important, but I think what's most important is being mindful of how you talk to yourself and how you classify what you're doing, your choices, especially in front of your kids. Your kids are watching. Even the babies, they're watching, they're paying attention. And so if you're walking around feeling dejected or muttering to yourself because, you feel fat or you've made poor food choices, turn it around and try not to be so hard on yourself, knowing that you have control over this and it's one step at a time. That these little tiny steps that you make to improve your lifestyle will compound on each other and ultimately lead to really big, awesome changes down the road. You just have to be patient. So just being mindful of how you're talking to yourself and what your kids are hearing.
That's huge. And they hear everything.
They hear everything.
So we're always not just doing this for ourselves, but we're modeling.
We're modeling a lot. And if you want your kids to be healthy, which I know every mom does, you have to put forth your best effort, except when, maybe things haven't gone so well. But again, let it go, move on.
Right. I still say to my kids all the time, we all make mistakes.
We do.
We make a mistake and we're going to let it go. And that goes for eating as well as all the other mistakes that we make.
So just be mindful of how you're talking to yourself, whether it's in your own head or out loud. Try to be more positive, focusing on the positive things you're doing, not the negative.
So I know you're very busy, but you're also available to take on clients for consults online, right? If any of our moms feel like they need extra help, they can find you at your website. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. So my email and my phone number are on there, and there's also a contact us page they can fill out, and then we can connect and talk and see, how we might be able to work together.
Awesome. And we're going to put a link to your website right below this video in the blog, but it is, am I correct? It's www. S Mull
Nutrition.
nutrition.net.
Yes.
SMULL nutrition.net.
Yes.
Lots of great information on there as well. And another way to just keep in touch with you if we have people who need it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think
My pleasure.
I've learned a lot, and so now I'm going to start to think about my diet a little bit differently too. And I won't hate carbs. I'll stop hating on carbs.
Don't hate carbs.
Because it's a really trendy thing to do, and I think I fell into that trap. So I'm really grateful
So many
for
of us
coming
do.
out,
Yeah.
right? Have a super great weekend. Have
you.
fun
You
with your
too.
kiddos.
You too.
And thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. My pleasure.